Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Geithner. I look forward to supporting your nomination. I'm going to ask you something which is off the beaten path, but which has not been asked and therefore needs to be asked because we're talking about spending money in recovery and stimulus and the rest of it. If you look at the American electricity situation, you make obviously the first conclusion: if you don't have electricity running, nothing works, including any of your computers. So you look at where we are now. We have about 7% coming from so-called green production, all of which I favored. You have wind, you have solar, biofuels, so all of that. Add that all up, 7–8%. You add on nuclear, which has its own particular problems. Nuclear per se doesn't bother me, but the concept of a tomahawk right down a cooling tower bothers me greatly, and in spite of how many steel rims you put around to protect us. That's about 20%. That's considered clean. That's considered clean. I spent some time talking with some people that have been appointed by our new president, and he pointed out that there's one particular person, Office of Science and Technology Policy, that there are already at work in this country at least 2 power plants producing electricity from coal that come in at a carbon reduction rate which is right in the middle of where nuclear power is now. And nuclear power doesn't produce carbon dioxide, but in other words, the emission rate, global warming rate, is the same. I then go on to the fact that, I apologize to the ranking member, but I've always considered ethanol a waste of time for 15, 20 years, and a waste of money, and on its way out. And then I'm looking for the great new discoveries that will take the place of this 51% that is now done by what is obviously dirty, and that is coal. Coal is dirty. Clean coal is dirty. There can be no discussion of the use of coal on a long-term basis unless it's done, unless we bring in engineers from around the world and spend a lot of money to get them to be able to reduce it to wherever these 2 plants already are. Maybe we can just use their technology and then have to pay, because of the spike of the price, for those who have to pay that electricity bill and can't afford to do so until competition begins to level things out. There is no way to talk about a stimulus package, a healthy America, a functioning American economy, when you have a 51% gap in the pie, because we decide, as I'm sure, I think Congress may try to do, the President has not been friendly towards clean coal. He mentions it whenever he does. I put it in my mind so much that I forget that he hasn't said it very often. And it's not a very friendly administration that way. One person who likes this idea, incidentally, is Larry Summers, but don't try it on Carol Browner. So we have this situation where you cannot run a country unless you find a substitute for what is now currently not clean coal. Nobody has found it. We have a 400-year supply in this country of coal, and it doesn't make much sense to me not to try to use American ingenuity, international ingenuity, to reduce the carbon emissions to approximately where nuclear power is, whatever that is. It's considered clean, so therefore it has got to be pretty good, 5, 6%, whatever. So my question to you, sir, is why is it that we aren't talking about putting this in the package, spending the money to answer what to me is overwhelmingly the largest. Solve all the bank problems you want. Pay executives fairly, regulate properly. Won't make any difference if you don't have electricity.
Senator, I found you compelling on this in private and as compelling in public on this basic question. And if I'm confirmed as this job, I expect to be part of the team of people the President's brought in to help figure out a way to put in place an energy policy for the country that'll meet not just the objectives you laid out, but the broader imperative of using energy more efficiently in a way that's less damaging to the environment. I think you're right that it's going to be very hard to do, complicated to do. The stimulus package now moving through the Congress it's changed as it's moved through. We're open to suggestions on how to make that package most effective.
You just got one.
And I hear your suggestion, and I know you made it to others, and I'll try to make sure it gets a fair and considered hearing.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Senator.